Welcome to On Deck with the Ketts, the official show of the Cotuit Kettleers, taking you through everything happening around Lowell Park and all throughout the village. Now here is your Cotuit media team for this episode of On Deck with the Ketts. Hello, Cotuit fans, and welcome back to episode 4 of On Deck with the Ketts, the official show of the Cotuit Kettleers. I'm Tim Crowley, one of your play-by-play voices for 2022, alongside my broadcast partner, Jake Starr. Jake, welcome back, and looking forward to another episode.
Thanks, Tim. Really glad to be back. 1 month closer, as you said, to baseball season, and really super excited for this week's episode.
2022 season on the horizon. But on today's episode, we get to go back in the past and talk about one of our established alumni now in the major leagues, a right-handed pitcher with the San Diego Padres. But for the purpose of this show, also a 2011 Cotuit Kettleer, Mike Clevinger joins the show. Mike, thanks so much for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me.
So let's start to dive back in your career a little bit, just from the beginning. Take us through what your baseball upbringing was like, where your passion for this game came from, and when you knew you'd have a future in this game.
I mean, I kind of grew up playing every sport. I mean, I remember being a kid and early mornings, we'd get up super early, have the soccer game in the morning, change in my dad's truck into the basketball uniform to hit the YMCA basketball league. And then from there, it was to the baseball field. So I kind of like floated around. I wasn't sure what I really wanted to do. I really had my heart set on basketball for a little while at a time. And then it's probably around my junior year of high school that I kind of knew that this was the route I should take.
Kind of moving forward now, Mike, a little bit. So, you talked about in high school how you kind of realized that's when you felt like baseball was going to be the direction you wanted to go. So, went to college. You started out at the Citadel. Then you transferred to Seminole State. So obviously neither big time, neither very big program. So talk a little bit about what it was like playing college baseball at, some smaller programs, down south.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was about going somewhere where I had a chance to play every day. And both schools offered me the ability to play on the field and pitch. So I was able to still keep my shortstop dream alive in both places. Freshman year at the Citadel, they didn't let me. I was going to move and the shortstop and pitch my sophomore year, but I transferred out to junior college that year to enter the draft early, and went down there, and the coach, was going to give me an opportunity to play third base there and pitch, and that was kind of where my heart was set. I wasn't ready to commit to pitching only.
So just like the college recruitment process can be, recruiting is a huge part of getting to the Cape as well. So just talk to us a little bit about your call to Cotuit and what some of your earlier expectations were on coming to the Cape.
I mean, that was like I think every college kid's kind of peak was like go play in Cape Cod League. That was like the epitome of okay, I'm on the track to get to the big leagues. It was like make it to Cape Cod or obviously Team USA, but Cape Cod was, the tier right below there. And so, I mean, getting that call to go there, I mean, I was super excited, heard nothing but great things. And then it also kind of gave me that, feeling inside that I knew I was on the right path to get to the big leagues.
And then we talk about that summer of 2011 a little bit, talk about your experience and what it was like kind of playing for the community of Cotuit.
Oh, I mean, shoot, playing there, I felt probably more like a big leaguer than I did my first few years in the minor leagues. I mean, everyone treated you with the utmost respect and almost looked at you as if you were already in the show. And we had a great time. Didn't really have the Cotuit season we wanted. But I mean, that was definitely one of the most fun summers of my entire life playing.
Is there a certain game from that summer that you remember pitching? I know you had the one start, but also just coming out of the bullpen a lot. Is there a game that stood out to you that you were on the mound for?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, which field we were playing at, but the fog came rolling in and we weren't sure if the game was going to get canceled. I came in to close, I had, I think, 2 innings to close that game. And it was probably the best velos ever put up, at least at that point in my career. I think I set 97, 98 that inning, and I'll never forget just the fog seeping in. And I was still trying to get more money out the Angels because I got drafted, but I hadn't signed yet, so we're still negotiating. So we had the Angel scouting director, Rick Wilson, was in town. I knew that this was my chance to perform, and I was worried the fog was going to stop it. I knew that was his last day in town, and then so I ran out there with all the adrenaline in the world, and then with the fog setting in, that was probably one of the most iconic performances that I had leading up to getting into pro ball.
That's a great story. And I love how the connection between how pivotal that game was to, getting that transition to the Angels organization. So, one of the big things about whether it's Cotuit or any summer baseball league is the developmental aspect of, any player, and especially you when you were in Cotuit. So, talk about Coach Roberts a little bit, and how he helped you develop, and what part of your game did he help develop the most that summer?
I'd say just his passion for playing, his passion for winning. I mean, it wasn't just like a summer league with like all of us, like where you take the best players around. It was like we were still there to get a job done. We're still there to play the game the right way. He wasn't going to accept not playing the game the right way. And like at most, winning was still like the number one priority. So I mean, even in the games that's it's like a summer league, like it still felt like you were playing in the College World Series when you were playing under him.
Now, as you know, there's so much more to the Cape than just the developmental side. You know that there's a specific culture when you come here, and especially in the smaller villages like Cotuit. So what were some of the memories you remember off the field as well, just about that community and what really makes Cotuit as a whole when you come to play baseball there during your collegiate years?
Oh, some of the best sandwiches I ever ate was that sandwich shop right by the field. That's for sure. But no, I mean, we had a great time. I mean, I met people from around the community, friends, and just a quick drive up to Boston to see a Red Sox game and kind of feeling like that towny vibe there was like a really cool feeling. And, just especially some of the homes and the landscape out there is just like, you don't see that around the country, like everywhere else around the country.
So now you hit on it a little bit earlier, kind of about that process of negotiating with the Angels organization and trying to get more money, but kind of backtracking and then moving forward a little bit. Talk about what the experience like was being drafted by the Angels, and then in addition to what was your time like in the minor leagues and the multiple organizations that you were with?
I mean, that was the grind. I mean, during the midst of it, it kind of felt like there was no end. It kind of felt like there wasn't that promising, like I'm gonna make it to the big leagues. You had to like really put your head on straight because there's a lot of 16-hour bus rides, no money. I remember being in the California League, and I mean, we had at one point 8 guys in a 1-bedroom apartment, and we were like, didn't even have a couch because there wasn't room for it. It was just air mattresses and just trying to survive. And that was probably the sweetest part about getting to the big leagues was just like the struggle we had to go through to get there. And it brought us closer together as a team. And like all the guys that I've played with, that was some of the closest relationships I've had in baseball was, going through the minor league system.
Now, when you did reach the majors with Cleveland, your career in the majors got off to quite the start with the success that you had, and obviously the team had as well. A World Series appearance in 2016, a team that breaks the American League record for win streak in 2017, and just those 3 straight playoff appearances that ultimately allowed you to grow a little bit. And then you get to 2019 where your career really started to take off, and you became one of those big name guys in that rotation that was surrounded by a lot of other really good pitchers as well. What was it like to be a part of such a good rotation, and how did you guys really start to feed off of each other, knowing that every 5 guys in that rotation, you were going out with a chance to win each day?
Yeah, I think that was a huge blessing in disguise for me. I mean, as hard as it was to break into that, I felt like the way I was pitching the minor leagues, I felt like with a lot of other teams, like I'd have been in the big leagues a lot faster. I remember being so upset about it and be like, gosh, why am I on this team that has like 5 Cy Young Award winners in the rotation already? But then once I got up there and finally cracked in, it was almost like breeding confidence in me. Cause like, even when I'd go out there and finally have a breakthrough outing where I'd have, 8 or 9 punch outs and make it through 5 or 6 innings as a rookie, I couldn't even gloat that much because the guy in front of me and the guy in front of him, they both went 12 punch outs in 7 innings. And then it was like, I think that just helped, that little competition, whether it's even said out loud or not, like that, I think that's what breeds, just good development players, just having the guys that know what they're doing, have good routines in front of you. And it was just easy to mirror what they were doing, watch what they're doing on the field, watch how they got the situations. Like when I'd get situations and sometimes I felt like things would snowball on me, I'd get to watch Corey Kluber with the most stoic attitude of anybody in baseball and go out there and, compete and find his way out of the jams that I kind of let snowball on me.
So after your time in Cleveland, moved to San Diego, obviously talk a little bit about your experience, short time so far there, and the little bit of postseason experience you're able to have last season as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is I know me and all my teammates are so sick of hearing this, but on paper, this is the best team I've ever been on. Now, not the best. I mean, we haven't played like the best team. We haven't played like what the paper says we should play like. And I really think it's just going to be a gelling process. I think it took, it's taking a few years to calibrate with some moving pieces and getting guys kind of comfortable and getting guys, once you get closer with the guys, it's easier to pull form. It's easier to, play the game in a team manner versus still trying to feel everybody out while you're in the midst of, a run. And I think we also had an adjustment process because after that COVID season, it was almost like the target was on our back. It was like, oh, these guys signed so-and-so, they traded for so-and-so. And then it became like everybody was showing up with their A game because they wanted to prove to the world, yo, we can beat all these guys on paper. It's going to boast my career. And I think we kind of, it's going to be good for us next year having go through that. So I think we went into some games where we're just we're going to roll some of these teams, and they came out and, teams that are have more losses than wins are coming out there and playing their, best game of the season against us every time.
Now, since you first got to San Diego and had that first postseason that obviously didn't end the way you guys wanted to, the loss to the Dodgers, and obviously the injury that led to Tommy John, just what's your road to recovery been like since then, knowing that the treatment and the recovery process for a Tommy John surgery has evolved so much in recent years? Just talk to us what your recovery has looked like and how excited you are to get ready to return to the mound next season.
I mean, it's been surprisingly smooth. I mean, I had maybe a couple hiccups here or there, but I mean, this has actually been a smoother process than my first bout with Tommy John. And I don't know, I kind of think you can put it towards the advances in science and different techniques. I mean, I remember the first, 2 months after Tommy John, I was doing hyperbaric chambers at the hospital, went through 50 something hours of hyperbaric chambers. Plus they're doing stem cell. And basically did stem cell twice, did stem cell while I was cut open, and then did it again at the 3-month marker. And I think all that and just the confidence in knowing I got through it one time. But this process has been, I mean, way smoother. I go out there and I cut it loose to where they have to pull me back. And I remember after the first surgery, it was almost like I was hesitant to really throw a ball with force. I was really almost babying pitches, getting underneath them. And this has been more of a restraining process. So that's been a positive.
And it's great to hear that process has gone so smooth for you and you're able to, start to look ahead a little bit. So speaking of looking ahead, let's talk about your expectations for this upcoming season for both yourself and for the Padres.
For myself, I want to complete a healthy year. I want to, get my grounds back for Tommy. I know there's going to be some restraints as far as innings and pitches go. And I just want to make sure I have, my wherewithal when we get down to the nitty gritty in October and be able to help this team and, the times we need it. And I think this team's going to come back with a vengeance. I think it was a lot of guys took almost embarrassment to the season we had last year. And a lot of guys were really disappointed and knew that there was, a lot better baseball to be played by the group we had in that locker room. And I think we're going to see that coming out this next year. I don't think we're going to take any game for granted anymore. I think it's going to be every pitch is going to matter to us.
Well, Mike, we know that the Cotuit faithful has been so pumped to see how your career has evolved so far, and know that we're extremely pumped to see your career continue to evolve when you get back on the mound with a really good Padres team in 2022. Once again, it's been Padres right-hander and 2011 Cotuit Kettleer Mike Clevinger joining the show. Mike, thanks so much for coming on.
No, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
So for my co-host, Jake Starr, I'm Tim Crowley saying so long for this episode of On Deck with the Ketts. A few more episodes coming up to end 2021 before we get ready in 2022 for the 75th anniversary of the Cotuit Kettleers and the next season of Cape Cod baseball.